Hello, everyone in the 5 continents, and welcome to another edition of our International English Online Meetings. This morning is a very special morning because we have 4 guests from Colombia. One of them is our good friend Angelica, and the other 3 are George, Oriana, and Daniel. Very new, brand new, very young, new teachers who are going to share their experiences and opinions about teaching. Number one, let me share my screen as usual. Okay, here it is. I said before, this is our, let me move this because I can see. Okay, today is is February the 22nd, 2026, and this is our 143rd International English Online Meeting. If you want to watch our webinars Facebook Live, if you can watch the past webinars, you can go to our YouTube channel, World Educators Community, and then you can find all of them. If you want to watch them Facebook Live, go to my Facebook account and you can watch them over there. Now, who are our guest speakers in 2026, dear Raj? Well, next month in March, our good friend Laura Holland from the USA will be talking about language teaching practice plus IEP, English conversation, also with her students. Later, we will have our good friend Marina Gonzalez from UNPAS University in Argentina. She will be talking about student teachers in research groups and new scenarios development. After that, Paola Aguilar from Colombia, from Universidad de la Amazonía, sorry, she will be talking about connected classrooms globally, experiences from high school students. She will also come with her students. After that, Bolivia is present with Beatriz, Andrea Carita, and Eileen Loanza. They will be presenting the topic Grammaring to Contextualize EFL Material. Then Oderay Quijada from Panama on July the 12th. And who are our guest speakers today? Well, number one is Angelica Rojas. These are some of the photos I found in the cloud, in the sky, in the space. Angelica is a Colombian educator and researcher, currently pursuing a PhD in education. With more than 2 decades of experience in teaching English as a foreign language, academic research, and teacher professional development, she has dedicated her career to advancing innovative and inclusive practice in education. What else can we say? Her work centers on curriculum design, educational innovation, and the integration of ICT tools to enrich learning environments. She has participated in national and international research projects and conferences and remains committed to fostering pedagogical approaches that are inclusive, culturally grounded, decolonial, and responsive to diverse educational needs. Finally, currently, she's an assistant professor at the Lenguas Modernas Department of Universidad del Cauca. She's also a lecturer at Universidad Santiago de Cali and a guest editor of ERL Journal in Poland. Thank you, dear Angelica, for your time and your expertise this Sunday morning.
Thank you, Jaime, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rana. Thank you, Raj, and all the people who I invited and have joined. Thank you so much for joining us, my friends.
Thank you so much, dear Angelica. Now let me introduce this wonderful new generation of English teachers. Pilar Oriana is a graduate of the University of Cauca with a bachelor's degree in modern languages with an emphasis in English and French. Vous parlez français aussi, Oriana? Très bien, très bien. On va parler en français aussi. Then, what else can we say? She has previous experiences working as a camp counselor and a unit leader in summer camps in the United States. And she is currently working in an institute in Miranda, Cauca. Then we have George Halland Rentería Prado. He graduated from the University of Cauca with a degree also in modern languages, specializing in English and French. Oh la la. He has 1 year of experience as an English teacher in Miranda, Cauca, and 2 years working during the summer season in the United States as a camp counselor. Finally, last not the least, Daniel Flor graduated from the University of Cauca with a bachelor's degree in modern languages with an emphasis in English and French. He has practical classroom experience from an English institute in Miranda, North Cauca, as well as leadership experience working at a summer camp in the USA. So, dear friends and colleagues from Colombia and from the 5 continents, let's give a warm round of applauses to this wonderful team of Colombian teachers. Now, Angelica, the screen is yours.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jaime.
you.
Thank you so much for inviting us, for having us here in this amazing session, space. Let's hope you enjoy this moment with us. We are so proud to present this experience. This is going to be an experience that we would like to share with you, with all of you, related to how we worked in a previous course called curriculum design. So my students and I are from Universidad del Cauca. We're currently accredited as a high quality university. And we are located in Cauca. There are 2 branches. The principal branch is in the capital city of Cauca, Popayán. And the other branch, which is where we are, is in Santander de Quilichao, which is really close to Valle del Cauca, to the Pacific coast. Okay, so we're going to present today. This is not a research analysis or anything similar. We're going to focus on the experience that we had in my class, curriculum design class, and we decided to call it situated curriculum design, how we could develop different strategies in order to have a very good end with a product that my students are going to share later. Okay. So yes, we saw that Universidad del Cauca, Cauca in specific, has a complexity of diversity in the educational setting. We needed to move beyond homogeneous curricular models to situate really what we wanted to explain to our students, what we wanted to do in our classes. Because we saw that in Colombia, everybody knows that in Colombia we have a lot of problems regarding security, an internal war that we have been witnessed for a long time. So, of course, we cannot neglect that reality. So we wanted to incorporate all those spaces and all that territorial reality into our sessions. So we saw teacher education in our course as a transformative and contextualized process. So let me explain to you how it is seen. So during this talk, we're going to work on rethinking teacher education or curriculum in language teacher education. So we are going to see, for example, how curriculum is seen as a contextual practice. Then we will move to beyond standardization, how we could analyze standard models, and we could propose something different regarding our realities. We also are going to explore a little about teacher education in the Global South. And finally, we're going to explain how multilingualism or bilingualism is seen as a sociocultural identity. Of course, after this explanation, my ex-students are going to present their views and their experience to you. Of course, we see that teaching and learning is not neutral. Yeah, so we understand that curriculum is seen as a contextual practice. So there is a need to explore curriculum beyond let's say the the ideas or the homogeneous ideas that were imposed to us. So curriculum is historically shaped because what we teach and how we teach is not neutral. It reflects the social priorities, the conflicts and power structures of a particular time. If you look back into the decades of the 50s and 60s, you will see that the main, as Jaime was explaining his experience at the beginning of this talk, he was mentioning something similar. He said, we used to learn with a cassette, we used to learn grammar structures, and this is what we used to learn before. In the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, that was the main or the core of teaching and learning. If you look back into the decades of the 90s, you will see that communication and globalization started to emerge and started to get embedded in our classrooms. So if you see today, you will see that standards, tests are the ones that are like more likely to become like the focus of our classes, of our sessions, of our teaching. So the communicative approach didn't emerge randomly. It responded to economic globalization and the need for functional communication across globes. So why do we say that it is politically shaped? We say that it is politically shaped, curriculum, because decisions about content, language, standards, and assessment are always linked to power relations. So when we design curriculum, we are not just organizing content. We are participating in a political act that legitimizes certain knowledge while marginalizing others. So we're not going against standards. We're not going totally against the policies. No, we're just trying to see the big panorama of our reality. What are we going to do about this imposition and how are we going to react in order to be proposeful? Of course, imported models from the global north have imposed international standards on us. So at this moment, we are talking and we are working on a discourse of testing that define quality from an external logic. So it is imposed and it is actually neglecting local realities. That is what we analyzed in our classes. So let's see how we went beyond standardization. So evaluation is increasingly framed in terms of measurable outcomes, accountability, and performance indicators. Probably we could also say that we are also talking about merchandising. Why? Because if we see, for example, at the end of the courses or at the end of the degrees, every student in Colombia has to take an exam, an international exam. They have to show their capacities and they have to show or measure the proficiency in English or in French. So if you analyze a little bit, you will also see that it has a cost. For most of our students, the cost is really high, but those prices are kept because of other standards, not due to our standards. If they were kept according to our standards, they would be cheaper, but they are really, really expensive. So there is also, let's say, a tension between the money and the necessity of graduating. So when quality is reduced to what can be measured, we risk overlooking ethical, cultural, and relational dimensions of education, according to Biesta. No? So standardization promotes uniformity, but educational contexts are never uniform. What works in one context may not be meaningful in another. So what works in Europe might not be meaningful in Santander de Quilichao, Colombia. according to Kumara. So in this way, we analyzed the necessity to propose something different to these student teachers. They were about to graduate. They had already passed through 9 semesters. That was their 10th semester. So I was a little worried because they had never experienced this way of seeing curriculum, how to design a curriculum that could be meaningful for their own students. And perhaps the most important question here that I posted here, whose standards are we adopting? Whose knowledge is becoming legitimate? So that would be like a rhetorical question that I hope we will be able to answer by the end of this presentation. So also in our course, we saw teacher education taken from down to the north, from the global south. So when discussing teacher education in the global south, we must acknowledge the structural conditions that shape our educational systems, according to Catherine Walsh. So there are structural inequalities. Many institutions operate within context marked by what? By limited resources, regional disparities, unequal access to professional development, limited funding, overcrowded classrooms, policy instability, and I am sure it's not happening only in South America. When we talk about the global south, we also talk about Africa, we also talk about India, we also talk about Pakistan, we talk about all those continents which have suffered the imposition from other people and from other policies, which has affected this imposition, has affected their own learning process, their own teaching process. So colonial legacies in knowledge production. So of course, when we talk about historical elements, we say that educational knowledge has been validated through frameworks produced in the global north. So we are seeing education from the global north up to the global south. But in our sessions, what we did was make a tweak from the global south to the global north. So this, of course, this imposition affects what we consider legitimate theory, valid methodology, and even academic excellence. ELT in particular has historically relied on theories and models produced in a limited number of courses. So we are seeing the concept of adaptation versus adoption. So what are we doing? Are we really adapting the knowledge? Are we really adapting our curriculum, or we are adopting from other places, from other realities, what we should be teaching in our classrooms? That was our question. Let me finish the idea here. So imported policy models and assessment frameworks, we see that frequently curricular reforms and assessment systems are adopted from external contexts without sufficient adaptation to local realities, or even to students' needs or students' limitations. There is a test in Colombia, and I know that every country has their national standard test. And we found in our analysis with our students in my course, we found that it is not adapted to students with physical impairments. It's not adapted to students with physical impairments. It is not adapted whatsoever. It is just put there and you have to do it. If you don't do it, that's it. It's none of our business. So what are we going to do about it? How are we going to propose something different? So that is a real problem that we are facing. That is a tension that we have to navigate through. So international standards can be valuable. Yes, we're not going against them. We're saying, yes, we value them, we acknowledge them, but it doesn't mean that we are totally in agreement with everything they are doing in our classrooms or in our educational system. We need to do something about it to make it equal, to make it just. However, when applied without contextual reflection, those standard exams and standardized evaluations may overlook linguistic, cultural, and other realities. Of course, so there are tensions between global expectations and local realities. So we are navigating all the time between those things, those two elements. What are the expectations that my institution has, university or school? What are those expectations? I need to fulfill some, formats. I need to accomplish some objectives. But what about my reality? I have some students who have some difficulties to learn. What should I do with them? If I want to apply a standard test to my students, my 40 students in a classroom, what should I do with those students who cannot do it, who cannot read it, who cannot listen to me because they have this impairity? So what should I do? So as teacher educators, we constantly navigate the tension between meeting global standards and responding ethically to global needs. So the challenge then is not to reject global frameworks, but to critically engage with them while honoring local epistemologies and community needs. Now let's go to the next point, the last point of this explanation, which is by multilingualism and social cultural identity. Yes, when we speak about bilingualism, multilingualism in education, in teaching education, we're not simply referring to linguistic competence. We're speaking about identity. So language as identity practice is not only, language is not only a tool for communication. We understood that language goes beyond that. It is a way of positioning ourselves socially and culturally, according to Norton and Garcia. So every time we speak a language, we negotiate who we are. So in many of my classrooms, I found students, indigenous students, even Afro-Colombian students who speak other languages, native languages, their native languages. So they are not monolingual. They speak their native language plus Spanish. So they are becoming multilingual. They are learning English as a foreign language, and they are learning French as well. And they are perfectioning their Spanish at the same time. So if you see, Colombia is not really a monolingual country, right? But unfortunately, we have been neglecting this reality. So investment in imagined communities, what does it mean? Learners invest in a language because they imagine themselves belonging to certain communities, to certain realities, to certain scenarios. So there is academic mobility. These three students, they have had the experience of going to the United States and interacting in a summer camp. And thanks to English, thanks to the level of English that they had. Of course, English is also used as access to knowledge. Our students can access knowledge thanks to English, thanks to French, because they have the capacity to read and write in both languages. So, of course, they are agents of transformation of reality. But that was the main thing that we wanted to realize, I wanted my students to realize. How can they be agents of transforming reality? So we also talk about dynamic and fluid bi or multilingualism. According to Garcia, bilingualism is not two or three separate language systems coexisting in the mind. It is a dynamic, fluid repertoire. From a multilingual perspective, as Kangas argues, linguistic diversity should not be seen as a problem to be managed, but is a resource and a fundamental human right. Even Skalda Kangas takes it a little further, and she says that bilingualism is a dynamic and fluid element. And she also says and reminds us that multilingualism is not a deficit, but a resource and even a matter of linguistic rights. So this challenges deficit views of bilingual learning and virtues as to rethink curriculum from a multilingual and rights-based perspective. So we also analyzed a little bit the concepts of linguistic rights and the concepts of ecolinguistics as well. We also saw some ideas of ecolinguistics in our classes. So teacher identity formation for pre-service teachers becoming bilingual and multilingual is also becoming a particular kind of professional navigating multiple and intercultural linguistic identities. So therefore, curriculum design in language education must consider not only linguistic outcomes, but also identity formation and sociocultural positioning. Okay, so what do we mean by situated curriculum? So situated curriculum is a design rooted in local realities, is responsive to community needs. It also integrates linguistic intercultural dimensions. It is informed by decolonial perspectives, and it promotes teacher agency. So if you see here the last one, this one is also a 21st century skill. So agency refers to the capacity of being able to propose, being able to solve problems, being able to identify a situation and give a solution, being able to be proactive. And this is a photo of my actual students. This is my actual group. You see how, diverse they are. So curriculum is enacted in real classrooms. Curriculum is not something where we should copy paste and just try to develop as best as we can. So in this way, we saw that student teachers should be formed as curriculum designers from the reflection of being transformative, their practice being transformative. So that would be agency in action. So let's see how we developed this case study. So the first thing was the context exploration, then we went to needs identification, then critical dialogue, then curriculum proposal design, and reflective analysis. Let's analyze very briefly each one of them. So for context exploration, the first stage involved exploring the specific educational context for future teachers to operate. They were probably they were not really aware of the reality that was going to, or they were going to face once they graduated. Yes, they had some teaching practicum, but at the same time, they were not really confident about how to face that reality. So we examined institutional constraints, community characteristics, linguistic realities, policy expectations, everything. The critiques, we analyzed even some authors, Colombian authors like Uxma Wilches, Guerrero Nieto, all of those authors that have had a word related to this situation. So after that, we did some needs identification. So we conducted a needs analysis to identify those gaps, challenges, and opportunities. We didn't see this as a problem. We saw this as an opportunity to propose something different. So this allowed curriculum design to emerge from real conditions rather than hypothetical models. As Oriana was saying, I didn't want to impose any theory to them. I wanted them to create their own theory and to create their own products. So throughout the process, we engaged in critical dialogue. We were all the time talking about these tensions, questioning assumptions, examining imported frameworks, reflecting on whose knowledge was being privileged, whose knowledge was being actually privileged. So when I asked them, for example, one of the activities was, okay, let's create an activity, a class activity. Let's do it right now. Let's imagine that we are in this and such situation, such and such classroom with these conditions, with students with this and these conditions, students with, I don't know, physical impairments, well, different ideas, different perspectives. And I asked them to create a short activity. Most of them were thinking about like the typical topics, the four seasons or where to be. But when I asked them to think about, okay, think about that peasant student. How about talking about daily routines as a peasant? Okay, I get up early in the morning at 4 a.m. I help my mom milk the cows, and then I go to the kitchen and help my mom make the arepas for breakfast. When I started giving those ideas to my students, it was like a click for them. And they started to realize that they were not really thinking, they were not really considering the realities of their own students. They were like thinking about other perspectives, other conditions, because that's what they have been taught as student teachers. So of course we needed a product. So of course, by the end of the course, of the sessions, based on the analysis each student developed throughout the course with different products, a situating curriculum proposal that responded to the specific necessities and context. After that, we did reflective analysis. We wrote an essay. Even we proposed our essays for an indexed journal, and it was accepted. So they engaged in reflective analysis, evaluating not only the technical coherence, but also the ethical and sociocultural implications. Okay, so of course, that was our class, 10 semester students about to graduate, having done their practicum classes in different schools in Santander de Quilichao. They were, of course, pre-service teachers. We worked in a collaborative way, collaborative inquiry mechanics. We also did a lot of reflective practice, and it was the curriculum proposals were context-based. Okay, now I'm going to give the floor to my three wonderful, fantastic, I'm so proud of them students, Oriana, George, and Daniel. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Angelica. Just to mention something that Rana mentioned that I can see now. He said, Rana, are you there? Rana, Doctor Rana.
Yes, I am. I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. You mentioned something that I love. You said language for life
For
skills.
life skills,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
I
So,
love that. Could you please say a little bit what you mean?
yes, okay. I think when Professor was talking about creating some activities, and some students talked only about weather, or some students talk about seasons. I mean, a kind of a routine activities. I see that when we talk about language skills, or especially when we are talking about English language skills, we should promote teaching English language for life skills. I mean, for example, how to be a good human being. That could be a good activity. I mean, how to maintain a folder when we write all the notes. I mean, in academic life, how I can maintain my folder while writing a notes. How to think positively. Think about making activities about those kind of things. I mean, how to dress up. That's another activity. If there are different platforms where I have to go, what I need to wear up, how I need to respond to questions, and I mean, all those things which we use in our life skills: how to behave with parents, how to behave with guests, how to greet guests, how to eat, how to behave on a dining table. So all these activities, they become under the umbrella of language for life skills. I mean, and they get lots of new words, new jargons, new ideas when we talk about, because they are happening in reality around us, which sometimes we do not focus much about all those kind of things.
Thank you,
Thank
dear
you. So
Rana,
that was about.
thank you for such a great explanation. When I am older, I want to be like you. Thank you so much, dear Rana.
Well, I don't think so you're gonna get old, Jaime. No.
I'm 62 years young, so
He is, I mean, that kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
very young. Okay, go on,
Yeah.
dear. Thank you. Go on, dear Oriana, George, and Daniel.
All right. I would like. Could you please go back? Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right. I would like to start my speech saying that understanding situated curriculum didn't happen all at once. It was more like a very enriching process that I lived. And today, well, I want to share a little bit about my experience and my process. So initially, I saw situated curriculum as any other concept, an academic concept that we had to analyze and define. And I understood it in theory, but I hadn't really connected it to myself yet. But this started changing once our Professor Angelica asked us to reflect on real situations, as she previously mentioned. And also during different activities, we place ourselves and our experiences as an example of it. So instead of discussing definitions, we first imagine ourselves, for example, back in school and during our university process, and we realize that many of our processes and experiences were not linked to our context. And it was there when we realized and when we thought that the theory wasn't enough. And then it was when we started understanding the importance of this topic. And for example, I remember at that moment, I began asking myself so many questions as though I were the teacher, because at that moment I already started teaching at the institute. And I remember thinking about like, what would I do to change that, or how would I teach effectively to avoid a disconnection between my students and the topics? And those questions made everything feel more real because they made me realize that teaching is not about explaining a topic, it's also about making decisions that shape and influence real people. And in a place like Santander de Quilichao, that responsibility feels even bigger because we live in a place touched by violence, inequalities, social challenges, and our students are not disconnected from that reality because they grew up surrounded by it. So, keeping this in mind, I wondered how we can pretend that the context doesn't matter, right? And the course helped me see that situated curriculum actually means starting from that reality instead of ignoring it. It means recognizing students' identities, perspectives, backgrounds, and struggles because that influence how they learn. And well, I must say that before this course and all of this realization, I thought that being a good teacher meant knowing very well the topics, um, planning organized lessons. But now I know that that's not enough because we as teachers, we need to go beyond that because we, for example, we need to listen before decide what to include in our curriculum, for example, because when we are deciding that, we are also deciding what and who matters. And well, this is something that Professor Angelica told us. We discussed like this topic during the class, and I must say that like blew out my mind because I honestly I didn't have like that perspective at that moment. And well, that realization feels heavy because that reminds me that teaching also requires ethical responsibilities, and the way that I create and design my classrooms can make my students feel either connected, represented, respected, or invisible. And it feels even heavier in a territory that has been often abandoned, stigmatized. And that made me think that the classroom should become a space of dignity, a space where students don't just memorize information, but they also need to think critically about their context and to work on that. And well, now when I imagine, for example, my classroom, I don't see myself just like delivering lessons, but also I see my classroom as a space where students feel comfortable and safe to share their ideas, to exchange culture, costumes, where they can express their perspectives and cosmovisions. And I don't see situated curriculum merely as theory, but for me, it's more like a commitment to teach with awareness, to recognize like the complexity of our region, as Professor Angelica mentioned before, and to honor our students' identities. And I was actually touched by this topic because I realized that we live in a region rich in cultural diversity, and this was evident during the creation of our project, the situated curriculum with the course, because we had we had to create the situated curriculum based on our interest and our context, and then we got projects focused on agriculture, for example, especially coffee production as a way to connect local knowledge to learning. Others focused on the role of women in Afro-Colombian communities, highlighting history, context, territory. So those projects showed us that our region is not lacking of knowledge. I think it's full of it. But education needs to recognize and also integrate that knowledge into classrooms. And yeah, basically that would be a little bit about my process and my experience during the course with Professor Angelica.
Thank you so much, dear George. And now, Angelica?
Yeah.
Oriana is
Oriana,
going to
Yeah.
Oriana,
talk.
yeah,
Okay.
Oriana is going to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm
you
gonna
so much.
continue with the sorry? Yeah, I'm gonna continue with my innovation. I'm gonna talk a little bit about a task that we did in the course, and then I'm gonna share a little bit with all of you my context, where the place where I live, Santander de Quilichao, and then I'm gonna conclude with that statement. So to begin with, I'm gonna be really honest with all of you. When I first heard the term situated curriculum, I thought that I understood it, but the reality was that, as the professor mentioned, it was something really external to me. I was really focusing on the lesson plans, the activities, and I didn't know the power of a curriculum, or even more a situated curriculum. But throughout the course, something changed as I engaged during the discussion activities, the reflection activities. I started to look inward. The more I reflected on the curriculum, the more I reflected on my context, my environment, and the way people learn. So what began as an academic task quickly became something much personal. So I'm gonna share with you the reflection essay that we did. This is a second part of a task. The first part was a discussion in class. So I learned with the Professor Angelica that learning happens within social and cultural realities. That's why I wrote many rural and urban schools fail to consider the students' context and their culture in their curriculum. So I was highlighting this connection, because when education ignores a student's experiences, a student's realities, the learning process becomes distant and less meaningful. And also, we learned about, as profession already previously mentioned, about a standardized assessment. So I questioned myself in that reflection essay. If education is meant to prepare students for life, shouldn't assessment also reflect the diverse skills and contexts they will face outside the classroom? So I question standardized evaluation, because I think assessment should not only measure memorization, it should measure the students' abilities to apply their knowledge in their real life context. So yeah, that was the task that we did. Teacher, can you go next, please? Yeah. Now I'm gonna talk I'm gonna let's continue with my context, the place that I live, which is Santander de Quilichao, Cauca. And growing up and studying in Santander de Quilichao, and during this course made me think that we are not disconnected from our social cultures, conflicts, inequalities, and historical violence. Many students in Santander de Quilichao grew up surrounded by economic struggles, complex realities, social tensions, etc. And still, education acts as if all the students live the same life. So, for example, in history class, I learned a lot about First and Second World War, but I didn't learn about a or social conflict that we live in the Cauca department, and that is nowadays shaping our realities. And for example, in English subject, I learned a lot about Valentine's Day, Halloween, and St. Patrick's Day. But I didn't learn that, for example, in Colombia, there are many indigenous people that speak another language. So it is something that we should be proud of. But as a student, we most of the time we are not, because we don't know that. And yeah, that leads me to my first conclusion, that it is when the curriculum ignores context, it can silence it. So continue looking back at my own educational journeys. I remember teachers, wonderful teachers, who made learning meaningful, as the teacher Angelica, and the ones who connected content with content to life. For example, I remember some at school. I remember some experiments, some projects that we did in class. I didn't see I wasn't seeing the problem on the board. I was living it, and that felt different from a student. And unfortunately, I had some moments when I felt invisible, when I knew that the other felt invisible. Um, and some moments when my personal and my regional realities were silent, because it's kind of a taboo. We should not mention, because it feels like the others realities, the others problems matters, but ours do not. So and that leads me to my second conclusion, which is a curriculum that is not situated can intentionally reproduce inequality. Why? Because if students never see themselves reflected in what they learn, education becomes distant. So this course helped me help me understand that a curriculum is not just something that we review each year and we change activities because we like it. And no, because no, it is something, it is about recognition. It is about recognition of identity. It is about recognition of history. It is about recognition of social and political realities that shape our classroom, our students, or people. And living in Santander de Quilichao, Cauca, that recognition feels important. And yeah, to conclude my intervention, I would like to say that education cannot pretend violence hasn't existed. Education cannot ignore indigenous and Afro-Colombian identities. And also, it cannot separate knowledge from lived experience.
Thank you so much, dear Oriana. And now we'll go with Daniel Josue, right?
Yes, thank you. Okay, I'm going to continue, and I want to tell you about something that we started creating during the course with Professor Angelica. But before that, I want to give a little more of a context of our reality and how this idea started. So when we started our career, when we started learning and we start this process, we hear a lot from our teachers that we should change the way we teach, that we should bring something different to the schools, to the students. We should inspire them and innovate and create different spaces where they can feel safe and they can learn through a more meaningful way and interact with them and allow them to explore and to build their own identities. But when we started our practices, we found a lot of limitations. One of them were the limited resources. We were used to have a lot of different devices, example, projector, televisions, or computers to develop our lesson plans and to work. But when we started doing practices, we noticed that those resources were not available for us. And also that the classrooms were small, were small and crowded with a lot of students with barely enough space to move and to do different activities. And also we found a huge gap, and not only gap between students, but also gap between the students and the curriculum, because the students were far behind the curriculum expectations. And that was the point when we realized that our biggest challenge were not these limitations, but the curriculum itself. Because it looks good on paper, you have a lot of resources, you have like instructions, and you have a structure that you can follow to plan your to create your lesson plans. But when you try to actually apply it, you notice that you cannot. That is completely disconnected from the students' reality, context, and experiences. Next, please. Then, when we finish our practices, we have this feeling of like something didn't work the way we wanted. And when we started the course with Professor Angelica, we realized the reason why we felt that way and the reason why that curriculum was not something that was working properly. And we started analyzing a little bit the National Bilingualism Program, that is our curriculum here in Colombia. And we understood that it was not something that the Ministry of Education created for us, taking into account our realities, our needs, our regions, our people, but it was a transplanted model, an European one, that didn't have any relation with our context realities. And because of that, we feel that disconnection between what they want us to teach to our students and what they really needed. And here we notice that global perspective and how they want to prioritize economic productivity over the cultural identity of our students and the cultural identity of our region. So we started to notice how there were these differences and how the curriculum just focused on this kind of topics and this kind of things that were just prioritizing the students to be part of the workforce, the students just to become someone that can be used to create more money instead of someone that can start having a more critical thinking and developing their own perspectives of the world and understanding their own culture and background. And also, we notice how in the school and in general in the country, these kind of perspectives just provide a more standardized educational system that is empty, and how teachers and professors start not teaching English as a way to understand culture and a way to connect with our roots and to understand other people, but just teaching English to succeed in an exam because we have these standardized tests that we need to do when we finish it. We finish our schools and also university. So they were not teaching us how to speak, how to communicate, how to contribute with our ideas, but simply just how to answer an exam. It's being just an empty knowledge for us. Next, please. With that, we started thinking about what could be something that can change that perspective, something different for us. And we started thinking about also our experiences working in summer camps at the United States. And we wanted to bring something similar to that because we experienced that kind of spaces in which children were able to learn and to connect with nature in their reality, experimenting and living different things, and not doing that alone, but in community. And we wanted to bring that to our regions in Central de Quilichao. And we think about creating an immersion English camp for our students. And that at the beginning was just an idea, something like hypothetical for us. But when we started developing more idea and talking with Professor Angelica, that became a project that we actually want to um, to work on and actually want to have and make reality in our region. And with that, we expect to have a shift in how we understand English. So students will no longer have English just as a subject in school, but a tool for the empowerment and resistance, something that they can own. And with that, we want to empower the children center the Quilichao and the surrounding areas and allow them also to develop this critical thinking that will help them to better understand the reality and what is their role in their community and our society. Next, please. With that, we started thinking about what we wanted to be our pillars for this camp and this project. And we started thinking about our cultural identity. And we decided to choose three forms to express our culture that were the traditions, the gastronomy, and territory. In our using them like as a window to understand who we are, what we do, how we understand our lives, how we understand our context, and how we understand the others. And also, we have the relationship with nature because we live in a place with a lot of biodiversity in Colombia in general, but also in our region. And actually, Santiago de Quilichao, it's called the city of birds. So we wanted to include that so our students will start thinking about our resources, about what we have, but not just to exploit it, but to preserve it and to protect it. And finally, inclusion. We thought that inclusion is something very important. A lot of people talk about inclusion, but it's just slightly. But we wanted to make it real for our project. Inclusion is to allow students to understand and to have this kind of immersion-based experiences in which they can learn through their own capabilities, through their own talents, instead of just trying to fit in a curriculum that is not designed for them, and provide them with something that fits their needs, that is going to help them to develop who they are. Next, please. And with that, we expect to achieve a transformation and impact in our society and our students. First, we want our students to learn English, not as a subject, but something that they can own, something that they can use to express themselves, something that they can use to build their identities, and also to understand their backgrounds, their culture, and how they can be, how they are part of something bigger, and they can develop their own path in their lives and not just following the expectation of other people, but understanding what are their truly desires and looking for their own purpose and having this freedom to experience their world and to understand what is their role in this in our society and how they can contribute to it. And for us as teachers, we expect to move from that passive role of just deliver a curriculum and just repeating and give a class that is disconnected from our students' reality and start being active designers and created learning experiences that we provide our students with the knowledge that they need for their lives, that they need for to move and to interact with their reality. And finally, with all that, we expect that we can help people to raise their voices from our regions to the world so they can tell others that we're not here just following others' ideas. We're not here just um, to um, to fit in this globalized world, but we want to share, we want to improve, and we want to tell everyone that we also have a culture, we also have history, and we also have ideas and a voice that needs to be heard by others.
Well, dear Angelica,
Yes.
So, what is the next step? I'm speechless about,
I'm
about
speechless too, actually. I was like, oh my gosh.
it's been Oriana, Daniel, and George. It's been like if I had been listening to very experienced speakers in a conference online. I can imagine how proud, how happy you are, dear Angelica, with such great students. Not only the fluency, the speaking, but also the passion I can feel presenting this not easy topic, talking about curriculum, their experiences, how they have transformed it, it has impacted their lives. So we have many questions, I guess, Angelica. This is the moment for questions and comments, Angelica.
Yeah, sure. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, okay. So maybe if you stop, maybe you want to show us some photographs, maybe before going on, before.
Yes, I have
Uh,
photographs from my students, different activities at the campus. Can you tell us, Oriana, a little bit about this place, which is called Tulpa? Do you know the origin of this place, the name of this place? Oriana or George
or Daniel.
or Daniel?
Tulpa is a building that was born in indigenous communities. It's a place to share. It's a place when they usually have a fire in the middle and they gather around it to share histories or just to have this community time together. And in our campus, we have one that is a place when we have different cultural and different kind of gatherings with professors and students and other people.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much, dear Daniel. Okay.
Okay,
So
questions time.
now, question time. I invite
Marcelo,
any of the people who are present here. I'm still in shock. Really, really, Oriana and Daniel and George, you can feel proud of yourselves because your presentation has been awesome. It has been amazing. Really, really. Yeah. So I want to be Colombian in my next life. Definitely.
Thank you.
Along with Dr. Rana. So anybody, please, who has a question or a comment to make, this is the moment. Yeah, anybody, please just open up your microphone. Yeah,
I have a question.
you have a
Um,
question, dear President.
Oh, I am fascinated by the conversation and the confidence in the presentation. The question I have is when a student or a professor or teacher is educated abroad and they come back to their home country, how does that blend then with the education? Because, say, if I've gone to England to learn something, then will I be influenced by the English culture? And when I come back to a Latin American country, how does that work?
there is a need to develop this competence, intercultural competence. And that is something that probably we are missing a lot in our classrooms and in our curricula, my dear Raj. Um, Unfortunately, I have witnessed some cases of some professors who travel abroad. They go to European countries or in any or even Asian countries, and they come back with different ideas. Of course, they come with brilliant ideas, but they're a little bit detached from our realities. So we should start making this campaign of decolonizing our knowledge and decolonizing our curricula, because what we are witnessing now is a clash between what our students' needs and our students' realities. This is what we have gone through during all these years, especially in the last part of the century. We have gone through this version of students who are kind of lost in class, when they approach a classroom in their teaching practicum, you see how confused they could be about the situation. And that is because of our perspective as teachers, our perspectives as professors. We know as educators, we know that many things in the classroom are put together, even our own identity as teachers, even our own perspectives as teachers. So we transmit that to our students. So what if my perspective is, global north like, and I'm teaching in the south of Colombia? So of course I will have problems. So my invitation would be to answer your question. I would answer with an invitation to start looking for the way to understand our realities more instead of copy pasting others' realities.
Could you, dear Angelica, stop sharing your screen so we can see other people's faces, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. You see, we can see the beauty of people from different parts of the world and the planet. Dr. Rana Bilal Anwar.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, I'm just speechless as everyone is. Well done, Daniel, Oriana, and George. I mean, mind blowing. It was wonderful, and it's a great work. And Professor, I mean, we know about your capabilities, but having all these three young people and coming with such a brilliant idea and presentation and confidence and verbosity, and I mean, it's mind blowing. So well done, guys, for that, and please keep on doing the great work which you are doing. Uh, I was just making some notes about all those things, so I would be looking at. So I will be commenting a little bit, and then I have a couple of questions which probably would help you to transform your research to further and to the next level for this project as well. So first of all, I would like to say it is an ambitious project, and I'm using ambitious in a very positive way. I mean, usually people think being ambitious is negative, but for me, it's very positive. So it's a very ambitious, it's a very positive project. Challenging content biasness is not an easy thing. And let me just explain a little bit content biasness, which means, let's suppose, all the textbook which we are available in the market and with reference to AI as well, they are biased. I mean, either they are written in American context or they are written in English context. You know what I mean? So in the modern world, we call it's a very content biasness. Even AI generate activities which is very much biased because of those English speaking hegemony countries. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So challenging content biasness is not an easy thing. So which you guys are doing. So well done for that. It's a brilliant thing, I mean, that kind of thing. Second thing, you talked about contextualization of English language. That's a great step. And I would even go further by saying that it's not only contextualizing, how about making it indigenous English language context, I mean, that kind of thing. And I'm always a strong supporter of indigenous language teaching, indigenous English language curriculum, and promoting indigenous research, which reflect and talk about the ideas, the problems, the issues within Colombia, so that we can come up out all those things. Yes, there's definitely an idea. There's definitely a limitations that when we talk about indigenous and contextualization, there's a lots of standardization issues come, I mean, looking for standardization. Well, okay, if I've developed this content and curriculum here, how it will be standardized in the USA or in the UK, or how the UK or USA exam system, they would respond to all those kind of exams which we develop. But based upon my experience, things are happening and people are getting registered and they're getting accredited, even developing by their own contextual language teaching material. So well done for that. Well done for that, I mean, that kind of thing. We also talk about intercultural competence. That was a great thing talking about that, I mean, that kind of thing. But being a teacher, which I believe that the element of humanism is very important when we talk about teaching. I was in a conference last night with Beatrice, and we talk about AI and so many things. So my whole idea, and the idea which I want to share with you, is that yes, some people think AI would replace us, but the only thing which AI will never replace is a human, to be kind, to be a human, and that kind of thing. So I would like to see that how you incorporate that element of humanity, which is in a broader picture of inclusion, into your curriculum. I mean, that how you create a humanity, that your teacher stay as a human, that it does not become a part of that AI and mechanical tool adjustment, but still alienate himself being a human being in the classroom. So that would be one I would like to see at some point when we develop it further. So that was all. I mean, it's a great work, and I could see it has its grounding, it has its implication, it will be implemented. So my just one humble question is how you would evaluate its impact when it will be implemented. How would you find out that it has worked or it has certain objectives? Now this curriculum is achieving those objectives. So what is that mechanism to find that impact?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Rana. Any one of the speakers?
Yes, I would like to partially answer Rana's question. Actually, this work is part of my doctoral studies project. And it is based upon evaluation, teachers' evaluation. And I'm going to create, I'm working on creating a matrix to evaluate that, because we don't have like a guide to know how this operationalizes and how this works. So that is actually my question. That's why I say I partially answer your question, because that would be the core result of my work. This is just part of my work as a researcher, and I have found that it works. It really works. We need, we also, of course, we also know that there is a lot to be seen, a lot to be studied. We didn't have time to share all the proposals of the students because there were 15 students and they had different proposals, of course, impregnated by humanity, as well as you said, because we cannot deny that we are working with human beings. That's why I was giving the example of the peasant boy or the peasant child who would get up early and who would speak about their daily routines. So of course, yes, we're trying to get into the point in which we need to go broader, in a broader sense, to what to do with this information. So of course, I'm trying to develop this work based upon all the elements that I have gathered, and I have been working on it. And of course, we will see the results in the future. I hope I can share it with you in the future when I finish.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah,
that would be wonderful.
Angelica. And if your students, well, your colleagues, very young colleagues, Oriana, George, and Daniel, maybe in a couple of years, or 3 or 4 or 5 years, they will be also presenting their own projects. I'm sure about that. Anybody else who has a comment or a question to make, please open up your microphone and let us know. Anyone else, please?
I would like to listen to Edin. I think Edin had a note or a
Edin
comment there.
Bermeo?
Would you like to? Yeah. Would
Where
you
is
like
he?
to open your mic, Edin?
Hello, Edin.
Hello.
Hello, Edin.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to our webinars. Where are you from, Edin?
Florencia, Caquetá, Colombia.
The beautiful Florencia Caquetá.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's one of my
Remember, Rana,
ex-students
remember,
also,
Florencia
yeah.
Caquetá. Okay, let us know.
Go back.
Yeah, let us know something about this wonderful presentation, or if you have a question.
Yeah. I would like to say that it is interesting what you're doing, because I think it is really important to question these colonial structures. That have been make us give us some problems within education in the global south. And I like this concept of global south, because it is something that it's being permeated in the south part of the different countries. And as I said before in the comment, it is important for us as English teacher to use these teaching materials, not just or the teaching concepts or topics, not just as take them as for granted, as they just come because they have the different rules, and at the same time they are biased by the culture. But at the same time, it is important to adapt these different teaching materials into the context of the students and the realities and the different perspectives they have, because it is also, and I share these comments that your students, Professor Angelica, was giving, and it was that they have voices, and at the same time, it is important to raise their voices and tell other people that they have history, and at the same time that they have a different perspective from their context they live in. Um, that they need to be here, so it is important not just to know about what it is in the other context on the global north, as the Professor Angelica says, or maybe in the European context or American and North American context, but also what happens in this part of of this context, where indigenous population, Afro descendant population, or mestizo population have also something to say. And at the same time, it is important because they have been part of the society before all these things, or before all these English has come, to Colombia or to these different countries. And I think that's something that it is I would like to say that I love that this exercise of questioning this colonial structure and make them own. But I have a question that it's concern make me concerned about that it is they were saying that their history is important to tell, to raise their voices. But many people think, or many of in this concept of decolonializing education, that it is what happened if we create another colonial education with our own culture. So that is why I say I can think about what you were saying, that it is a multicultural perspective also, that it is important to know about others but also about our own culture. But if we only focus on teaching our own culture, that will be that we created another colonial perspective here in our country, maybe.
Thank you, dear Edin. So, who's going to answer Edin's question?
Yes, yeah, Oriana, go ahead.
Oriana,
Yeah,
go on.
I just have a short comment. I don't know, Aiden, if you are saying that because I said because I was talking about others' conflicts, and I was saying that it is important also to focus in ours. I'm not saying that the others' conflicts are not important. Maybe we can combine it and just talk about ours, but it is important for us to talk about ours conflicts too, because as I said before, we don't know, we know a lot about others, about Europe, about United States, because Western cultures are very strong. However, we should uh, we should start learning about ours conflicts too, because if we are just learning about others, as I said, uh, it feels like ours did not matter, and ours matters too because we are living that reality.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Oriana, for your answer. And I would like to invite Janet Maria Ortiz, go on.
Good morning,
Hello,
everyone.
Janet. Welcome.
Hello,
Briefly,
Janet,
please.
welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this space. And Professor Angelica, thank you for inviting me. And I am from Colombia too, and I'm very proud of seeing what Professor Angelica has promoted in her classes. Earlier, someone asked about the impact of this project and of this process. I would add, in I see the impact through this presentation of what has happened in Professor Angelica's classroom with students, like when you see them so confident, so clear about their political and ethical position as language teachers in Colombia, as teachers of English and French in Colombia. I think that's the biggest impact that you can expect as a teacher educator. And I feel absolutely connected to those principles they have shared with us. And I wanted to, in the first place, congratulate them on the work they've done and that Professor Angelica has oriented. I also had a comment. It's a common question if you want to make a comment on that. What if, because I heard that at several points in the presentation, some of you said that those standards in language policies, for example, in Colombia, or in the prescripted curriculum had unintended purposes that silenced the voices of local peoples or knowledge, etc. My comment is, what if we assume and take the position that those standards and that tendency to homogenize and standardize evaluation, the curriculum, all of the aspects of the curriculum and language policies, it's not unintended? What if we assume it is a planned design to keep control and to maintain coloniality and to keep invisibilizing us? That would be my question. But I'm so happy and inspired by the work you've done. So congratulations to the students and Professor Angelica again. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Janet. Briefly, please, Daniel, Oriana, George, or Angelica, to answer the question.
Yeah.
Yes, briefly, I would say, sorry,
Okay,
go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
That was actually something that we discussed during the classes, that the curriculum of this, it is not just there just because it has intention. We know that. And we know also that there are people out there that also use this as a way to control, because curriculum is not just something related to education, but also something political, and it's also something related to our society. The curriculum can reduce the gap between social classes in our country, or also make it even wider and separate us, and to keep the people in the power remaining in that position, and the people who don't have that kind of power or that kind of opportunities to remain in the same position. And we can see it because, for example, we have a system that is standardized, and that standardization is affecting people like us that maybe for example, we don't have maybe preparation, or we don't have knowledge, or even we don't have the opportunities to be prepared to get those kind of exams that we have in the country, but our other people have the opportunities to prepare, to have to be ready for them. And so these kind of structures are prioritizing and giving privilege to certain groups, and just just forgetting about the other population in the country. So we can see, for example, even in the classroom, when we start applying this kind of assessment and evaluation that is also standardized, we're forgetting about our students' differences, our students' backgrounds. And with that, we're giving this privilege to pass, to get good grades to certain amount of students, but we're forgetting about our students that might have a different way of learning, a different way to understand the world, and a different way to interact with the knowledge.
Thank you. That was a wonderful answer, dear Daniel. And briefly, one more time, dear Rana.
Sorry, yeah, just a couple of things. I think
Please.
One was my question was, I think somebody took my question in a different way. My question was not that what will be its impact. My question was how you will evaluate the impact of this curriculum. So I mean, that's a part of research, that when we create something, and especially curriculum, we see how we evaluate that impact. I mean, that kind of thing. So, second point with reference to Edine and Oriana, which talks about colonialism and colonial heritage and colonial curriculum and all those kind of things. So, and I will refer it with reference to Professor Edward Said book Culture and Imperialism. So, where he talked about that there is an ambivalent relationship between colonizer and the colonized. I mean. So where in the world we are talking a lot about decolonization of curriculum, decolonization of education, all those things. But at the same time, as per Professor Edward Said's culture and imperialism, because it's an ambivalent relationship, so sometimes we have good and bad, both things happening in that relationship. So probably the best solution could be in our setting that we choose the best one, which is good for us, and then we try to adapt it, and then we try to contextualize it, I mean, that kind of thing. So similarly, we cannot leave everything behind which our colonizer had. So we need to pick and choose what is good in my context, I mean, that kind, and how I can incorporate that thing into my indigenous language teaching procedures and curriculum. So this is just my comment, I mean.
Thank you, Rana. Maybe Angelica will have something to say.
Yes, I would like to compliment Daniel's answer by saying that, yes, we're still being colonized, but we haven't realized it. So we need to be conscious of this situation. I invite you to start reading more authors who talk about decolonial perspectives, like Walter Mignolo, Catherine Walsh, Sousa dos Santos, even Freire. We can even read them and we will realize how colonized we are.
Well, dear Angelica, Ariana, Daniel, and George, on behalf of everyone who has been listening to you and watching you, not only here, but also in Facebook Live, we want to thank you so much. And once again, dear Angelica, if all the young teachers in Colombia are learning, are speaking, are working, are thinking just like these three young people, wow, now I understand why Colombia is so developed about education. But before the final words, your final words today, let me ask the president, Raj Jill in Canada, to express her words today to this wonderful group of Colombian professors.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you to each one of you. I am speechless because I think the impact of colonization shows up in so many aspects of our lives. And how do we navigate it without, making it wrong, but really changing it in a way that serves us to live culturally friendly? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, dear Raj. And before going on to the final words of our guest speakers today, let me remind you that March the 15th, just in a couple of weeks, we will have another extraordinary presentation with Lara Holland and her students from University of Oregon. They will be talking about language teaching practice plus IEP, English conversation, okay? So on behalf of the World Educators community, thank you so much, dear, once again, dear Oriana, Daniel, and George. All your presentation has made me reflect a lot and just remember somebody that I met in Mexico many years ago, Gabriel Diaz Maggioli, the ex-president of IATEFL. He's from Uruguay, and I hope to have him one of these weeks, months, or years, because he's a very busy person, but very knowledgeable. And he's been talking about this. Why, like, for example, why we don't have our own Cambridge exams or TOEFL exam and books that we produce in our countries and things like that. So thank you so much, Angelica. Now I have to cook and do the washing up. So we are going to start with George, your final words today in this wonderful presentation of yours.
All right, I just want to say something very brief, and it's like one of the most lessons from this experience was realizing that education is never neutral, something that Professor Angelica said at the beginning. And I think that that's important because every decision that we make as teachers, I mean, what to teach, how to teach, and what voices to include has consequences. And we're working with real people, and we need to be really aware of that.
Thank you, dear Daniel. Thank you so much. Really, really. I guess everybody has said that we are speechless, and that is true. I don't know how we are speaking after listening to you three. Oriana.
Well, I would like to say something that I learned during this webinar. I'm so grateful to be here to share with all of these knowledge people, and I would like to say that it's a great experience to share knowledge, and I learned a lot from the Professor Rana, Raj, Jill, and from you about to complement our topics, our topic for today. And yeah, I would like to end saying, like, as educators, we need to be more involved in those kind of sharing knowledge spaces to complement our ideas and to be aware of our power in the world.
Thank you, dear Oriana. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Daniel. Hello,
Okay.
Daniel.
Hello. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Perfectly.
Okay. So I want to say thank you, all of you, for this opportunity. It was something new for us. I was a little bit nervous, but it was wonderful to share this space with all of you, to listen to your comments and also your ideas, your questions, and also have the opportunity to share what we developed with Professor Angelica during the course. And just give the invitation to everyone that we continue working to provide a better education for our students, to look for new perspectives, and also to try to continue working for the future of children and youth in general. And for me, I take from this meeting a lot of new ideas and knowledge. And yeah, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you once again, dear Daniel, Oriana, and George. I'm going to send the link of this recorded presentation, which will be uploaded into our YouTube channel, and you will be able to see it and share it with your friends, colleagues, and children in the future. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And God willing, I hope to meet you in person someday, maybe this year. It all depends on up there somebody bigger than I. And finally, dear Angelica.
I'm so grateful. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. I'm so amazed. The way my new colleagues have performed today is just, mesmerizing. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Yes, thank you very much to the three of you, especially. Thank you very much to the attendees for listening to us, for standing for almost 2 hours together with us. Thank you, Rana. Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Jaime, for inviting me. And I hope to see you very soon. We're
Me
doing our
too.
best,
Me too.
inshallah.
Me
I hope to
too.
see you very soon in Colombia, in Santander de Quilichao. Thank you very much.
I will pray, I will pray, I will pray, and I will pray to visit your university and meet these wonderful students. And as I said before, and Rana also mentioned that on my next live, I would like to be Colombian. So
I'm with
Angelica,
you,
I
Jaime.
love
You
the
can be
word.
Colombian now. You can have a double nationality. That's not a problem.
okay,
Come
I
here.
will ask for my passport. Okay.
Well, just want to say, Angelica, thank you for saying my colleagues and not former students
Yes,
anymore, right?
exactly.
Yes, and you feel, oh my God, these are my colleagues. That a lot of competition.
It's a healthy
You know,
competition.
that's what Rana said at the beginning. I transmitted my 20
Yeah,
plus years of experience to them. So I used to see them as my students, but now that I see them the way they are, performing and talking, yes, Raj, they are our colleagues.
Yeah, so sorry, Domingo Aquino wanted to say something very briefly. Domingo Aquino.
Okay, I'm talking from my experience in the Dominican Republic. You were talking about the things of the curriculum, but one of the principal problem is that who are heading the curriculum are not advertising that. And sometimes they try to make us do something that they really don't understand how to do it because they copy that from another country.
Right.
The other matter about the other matter is for example, the colonization. Learning English doesn't have to be anything with changing the culture. It's really something to use for professional development. So teachers shouldn't be fearful about our student being colonized by learning English. Is another thing is thinking in reality, we should have what we can with what we do. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, dear Domingo Aquino from Dominican Republic. I guess we all agree with what you said. So see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you, everyone. Bon appetit, and see you in a couple of Sundays. Bye bye, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
See
Thank
you
you.
soon, dear
Bye,
Rana.
everyone. Wonderful, wonderful. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank
See
you.
you soon somewhere in the world, Rana.
In the world, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Might be in Colombia, you know, man, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Come to
Yeah.
Colombia. Come to Colombia.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Thank you
Bye
very
bye,
much.
Rana.
Wonderful, wonderful guys. Wonderful.
Goodbye.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Amazing.
You may be proud of yourself, Oriana, George, and Daniel. Be proud of yourself and your university and your teacher and your Colombia. Bye bye.
And we are proud of you.
Yes, we are proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have
Bye
a wonderful
bye.
day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.